Okay, so good evening, everyone. It's the 30th of June. Welcome to the Southall Matters June 2022 forum. And we'll kick off now by a quick round of introductions. My name is Sufyan. I am a resident here in Old Southall. I was a candidate in the most recent elections as standing under the Ealing Independent Network. But more importantly, I am a campaigner and long-term coordinator and administrator for Cleaner for Southall and Hayes. And I've been in campaigning for the last sort of 7 years of my life. I'll now pass it on to Angela.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Angela Fonzo. Like Sufyan, I am a member of Clean Air for Southall and Hayes. I would consider myself to be quite an active member. I've helped to organise various demonstrations, and I also keep our social media up to date. And we are constantly advocating for better control of the air pollution from Southall Gasworks, now known as the Green Quarter. We were instrumental in the council introducing independent air quality monitoring. So there are now air quality monitors surrounding the site, and the data appears on the Air Quality England website. We will be holding a meeting on the 19th of July on air pollution, and we have a wonderful citizen scientist involved with us, and he's been analysing the data. So he's going to demystify all things to do with air pollution. So I do hope you can join us at the meeting, and what I will do, I will put the link in the chat box.
Exactly what I was just about to say. If you put the link in the chat, and then anyone who wants to register, please feel free, come down. Is it an in-person meeting, Andrew, or is it on Zoom?
It's on Zoom.
Okay. Yeah, if you've got a spare couple of minutes, dial in. It's going to be a quite interesting meeting. As Andrew said, we do have guest speakers, and they are very well. They're very well knowledgeable. They've been around for many years, and it's the Centric Lab, isn't it? So,
not Centric Lab, Tim Webb, and he's a citizen scientist.
Yeah, so the citizen scientist has been following our case for about coming on to 4 years, I would say, since early 2018. I'll now pass it on to Sangir if he wants to introduce himself. It's fine if you don't.
Oh, Sufyan, thank you. I think I don't really need to introduce myself.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Rashpal, if you want to introduce yourself, or if you don't, it's fine.
Hi, I'm Rashpal, and I am just taking part in this meeting. I am just concerned for the local issues, people facing, because someone has to listen to people as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
And also we are suffering as well, with some of the issues.
Does anyone else want to introduce themselves? If not, we can get started with the rough agenda. There is no set agenda for this meeting. It's just an open discussion.
Is it okay if I introduce myself?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So it's okay. My name's Zareen. I have lived in Southall since 1979, and then I moved out in 2017. But I have been involved in a lot of not work with Ealing Council, but obviously trying to get improvements around Southall since 1996. But the past few years I've kind of slowed down and been quite frustrated with being ignored by them or not seeing much improvement and things getting worse. But like I said, over the years, I have contacted Ealing Council many times over various issues. And I continue to do that even now, because it's more on behalf of my parents who live in Southall. They live on Northcote Avenue. So I kind of represent them. But also because I've grown up in Southall, I still have that kind of affiliation and loyalty. And I'd like to see Southall improved in many ways. And I feel that we've been neglected and sidelined in some ways. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's great. Anyone else? Or if not, we can get
Yeah,
started.
yeah. I'm Steve. This is my first meeting.
Okay.
I came along to the joke of a meeting last night that Sharma arranged. So I saw all you guys on fire, so I thought I'd join you tonight as well.
Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
Yes. So just if anyone, if we're done with that, we can get started on. Oh, I think another Steve's joined.
Sorry, I just.
Hang on a minute.
Andrew, if you just want to make me host, just so I can control the mics as well, please. Okay. Yeah. So as Steve was saying, the meeting last night. Now, myself included, alongside Angela Fonzo, and a few others of you on this call were there. Now, myself being a lifelong resident, and when I say that, this is my home. Mr. Sharma, the way that the meeting was advertised was, it's a not one-on-one discussion, but it's the MP and us as his constituents, as he likes to call us. Bear that in mind. So when I arrived, I saw Mr. Sharma at the front door. And I thought, oh, this is strange, an MP greeting me for the first time in many, many years. In my MP I'm talking about. So I thought, all right, this is a good start. I walk in and I see a panel. So I'm thinking, who the hell are these people? So on every chair, there was a leaflet. Now, there was ladies from the NHS, the Met Police, and a few other services. Now, the point I want to make about this is this meeting was not a meeting with our MP. This meeting was a setup, and I'm going to say that quite openly on a public forum. They want to call it listening exercise. That's what he said last night, and we've got recordings of this meeting. Anyway, it's a listening exercise. This MP of ours, I don't know how he's lasted. And I'm sorry if I sound a bit agitated, but right now isn't the time or the place to have a listening exercise. You've done the listening. We need to see the action. You've done the talking, not even done the talking. Your parliamentary aide or your parliamentary assistant, I don't know what his title is, Mr. Dominic Muffet, has done the talking. Whenever, I'm pretty sure other people on this call have tried to arrange constituency appointments with him. Whenever anyone has a constituent appointment with him, well, I'm talking from personal experience, I've never had one because I did arrange one and I wasted nearly half a day of work waiting for him to answer a Zoom call. But I'm pretty sure others of you have had an appointment. I'm pretty sure Angela has. His parliamentary assistant, Dominic Muffet, or Sangeeta Thave, or whoever it might be from his office, is on that call. Now, I know other constituency. I'll talk about John McDonnell. I'll talk about Tandesi. I'll talk about Seaman Mahortney, who is from Hounslow, and Tan is from Slough, and John McDonnell's just from the neighbouring borough, Hillingdon. All Labour as well, so we can't even play the different parties have different policies if they're trying to pull that. None of their assistants were there. It was a one-on-one discussion. Yeah, not with myself. Obviously, I'm not their constituent. I know people who live in those areas where they represent. And all three of those I've just named are very vocal in Parliament. I'm pretty sure everyone's seen Mr. Desi numerous times spiraling across social media because the way he speaks, he is very well spoken. And I've contacted him about an issue in Southall because I have emailed his office and I said, my MP is useless, can you help? And he did help. And that just shows you the level of care as he works in the public sector. He knows it's a public sector job and he knows the public funds his job. And very easily he can lose that seat. But he's a great MP. But Mr. Sharma, when I emailed him about the same issue, he is not interested. He sends an auto reply, as all MPs do. and my email has gone ignored, not for 5 to 7 working days, I would say 5 to 7 working months. Yeah. And I have so much respect for anybody in the public sector. I personally work in the public sector. I work for the NHS. I know how stressful members of the public can be and how demanding they can be, but it's the job we do, and it's the job we are paid to do. Me personally, I get abused in my job just because of the obviously patients get angry and whatnot, but we have to deal with it to an extent, but it is the level of care wasn't there last night. And when I mean, I'm not saying it just because it's me, I would say it if it was anybody. If you have a chair at a meeting, and I mean, this is in the public domain, so I'm not breaking any sort of GDPR or leaking anything. Mark Paulson, I'm just going to say it how it is, who chaired that meeting, I felt was very biased, and that is my own personal opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. The way it was chaired was totally dictatorship. Yep. He was dodging myself, dodging my colleague who was with me, because he knew we are vocal. So at the point where I had to stand up and say, you know what, this isn't right. And then right at the end of the meeting, and half the time the questions weren't even answered. I'm pretty sure like Angela Fonso's question wasn't answered to a significant, it wasn't given a significant answer. They were going off on something else. Now I stood up and I spoke, and I talked about the Met Police in particular and the NHS. Now I work for the NHS, so I know a lot about NHS protocol and policies and everything. So when Pipla was there last night, saying that she manages all these hospitals and whatnot, and it's separate services, this and other, that is correct to an extent. Now, I went to A&E with severe chest pain a couple of days ago. And I called 999. They said it's a 7-hour wait for an ambulance because of high demand. I said, that's fine. I will jump on a bus and I'll get to A&E. But can you make me an arrival time? And this is one thing you guys need to keep in mind. An arrival time is where you are checked in and you were sort of seen, because I was a high priority patient because I had cardiac pain, and anything cardiac or anything cardiac or anything brain related is normally actioned within I think it's 33 minutes in our trust, 33 or 37 minutes. I'll need to find the guide again. Anyway, I got there. I was holding my chest. I couldn't breathe. I had SOB, which is shortness of breath. I couldn't even say my name or date of birth, so I had my passport with me, luckily. So handed that to her, and she goes, "You're not the receptionist goes, "You're not at an airport." And I said, "I'm struggling to breathe and I'm struggling to speak. That's why I'm handing you this to make it easy." And I handed her my NHS card and alongside my NHS number to check me in quicker, because once you type in someone's NHS number, you find that patient and that patient only. So I was trying to make their life easier, and the way I was treated was, "Oh yeah, just take a seat, someone will see you," but the wait time's about 8 hours. So I was there. I tried to stay patient. I tried to stay calm. I will admit I did get agitated because at the end of the day, I was in a lot of pain and I was having these anxiety attacks. And I was there, and they checked my initial obs, but they checked my pulse rate and they checked my temperature. They didn't check my BP. They didn't check my heart initially. Now I waited and I waited and I waited, and I got to a point, I went up to the desk 4 or 5 times, and the lady decided to call security. So at this point, I pulled out my camera and I started to record, and she goes, "You're not allowed to film in here." I said to her, "Excuse me, it's public property." She goes, "No, this is private." I go, "It's not private. And if it's private, show me where I can't film." Because the police are wearing body cams, the security guards are wearing body cams. That's filming. That's filming in the same building I'm in. Anyway, they called the police turned up, and the police go, "Yeah, you won't be treated here tonight." I said, "That's fine. If I collapse dead, or if I have a cardiac arrest," because I know people my age who I went to school with who died in that hospital in A&E, and that's why I got so agitated, because I saw one of my best mates at the age of 21 have a cardiac arrest in front of my very eyes in that hospital, and not a single doctor, not a single nurse, not a single healthcare assistant on site ran to his aid. And that just says something about Ealing Hospital. So I went there again later on that day, and they go, "Why are you back?" And I said, "Because I need to be treated." Yeah. And that same receptionist said, "I'm not checking you in. You need to go somewhere else." I go, "You are checking me in because this is my local hospital. I'm a taxpayer. Never mind, I'm a taxpayer. I'm in need of medical attention." So Ealing Hospital, what I want to say about that hospital is I would not advise anybody on this call, nor anybody watching this on YouTube, to ever attend Ealing Hospital. I will always advise even patients I speak to on a daily basis. I say you're better off going to urgent care or A&E at Central Mid, A&E at West Mid, even though it's further out, or Northwick Park, even though that's further out. Their level of care is a lot better. I've got documentation with me stating that I had shortness of breath. They documented this. And all of this was an action. So they did an ECG at Ealing initially. It came back all clear with some abnormality. They did 4 ECGs, and they said, "Yeah, there's nothing wrong with your heart." I said, "Yes, but it could be something deeper than just a heart problem." And they basically they made this all into a long episode where the police were called, the security were called, and funny enough, security didn't even have the correct SIA license. They were wearing a CCTV badge, not a door supervisor badge, not a front license badge. And with a CCTV SIA license badge, you only can be a CCTV operator or install CCTV cameras. So I want to know from the NHS or from the private organization, whoever hires these security officers, why, number one, are they hiring people for the incorrect job? And number two, why in God's name do the security officers at Ealing Hospital think they have the right to grab patients by the arm and try and drag them out? Because I'm talking from a legal point of view here. If you're SIA trained, you can only grab someone if they're being violent or aggressive. And I was neither of them, and I've got video evidence of that. So I'll be raising this with the NHS when I'm feeling a bit better. And I'll be raising this more importantly with the CQC, who is the Care Quality Commissioner, because the last inspection, which I read, was in 2011. And that inspection actually failed. So the hospital should actually be under very stringent measures, and they should increase their level of care when actually there's closing services left, right, and centre. And I know that's not directly Ealing Hospital's fault, but it comes to a point where if you can't have the service there, then at least when someone gets to A&E with this chest pain or with whatever pain they're having, refer them somewhere they can go and do what is called a A&E to A&E transfer. And they should transfer. And I said to them, if you can't see me in this time, can you just transfer me to, and I wasn't expecting an ambulance transfer. I said, I'll get an Uber there. I'm more than happy to get an Uber or a bus there. I just need you to mark me in at Central Mid or West Mid or Northwick Park. And they go, we don't do that. I'm like, yes, A&E do that because I've done it elsewhere. And they go, yeah, Ealing Hospital don't do that. And I said, yeah, you do, because I work for your trust. And at this point, they got worried when I said that. And I will be severely investigating this, and my family will be taking Ealing Hospital if it needs to be. We'll be going down the legal route and possibly suing the NHS, because for the last 6 days I've been having anxiety attacks. Not only 6 days, I've been having them for months, but they've sort of escalated to a very bad time, and it's not on. My GP has been great. I work for my GP personally. I work alongside her. I was at work today. I had to leave early because I wasn't feeling too good, and straight away, I'm on medication now, but That isn't that is after I told my GP and she actioned it straight away, and I'm very grateful for that. But enough of me rambling. Let's pass on to someone else. Sorry, everyone. Angela. Oh, Joe is here. So sorry, let me just introduce Joe Bangu is the chair of Southall Matters, who always in this garden, but there's Joe. Take over.
Yeah, good evening to everybody. Wasn't it a lovely meeting yesterday? Hey, what do you think of the meeting yesterday?
Shambhala.
I'm standing in my garden. I'm sorry, just started showering a bit. But can you understand how vulnerable the local councillors and the local MP are? They were falling apart. That's the way I looked at it. They didn't know if they were going or coming. And they try to hide behind the people they had on the, what you want to call it, the stage, call it the stage. We didn't know that they were going to be there, did we? That was a shock to the system. But no, clearly it's unbelievable what they think they can get away with the community of Southall. And if you looked halfway through, people started actually leaving because they just had enough, because they knew what was going on. It was same old, basically. You know? What do you think about that, Ange?
I would say it was a sham of a meeting, and Mr. Sharma may as well not have been there. You know, I said on Twitter they could have installed a cardboard cutout of him, because other than just a sort of general introduction, he said nothing. And on Twitter, somebody from his office actually shared a photograph, and it had all the panelists apart from Virendra Sharma. And I thought, where's Virendra? And I actually had to expand the photograph, and I could see the back of his head. He was seated in the audience as though he was an ordinary member of the public. And what I found shocking, he made no attempt himself to actually respond to any of the points raised or any of the questions, hiding behind the panelists. You know, I wanted to ask him, Mr. Sharma, what have you actually taken away from this meeting? What are you actually going to be proactive on? Unfortunately, I didn't have that opportunity. But really, it was just a showpiece to appear to be engaging with constituents. And I was absolutely surprised to see how many councillors stood up in the room. I think there are at least 6 or 7 of them. And certainly one of the councillors in the audience had the opportunity to ask about women's safety. And then later on, she wanted to have another opportunity to speak. And all the while, ordinary members of the public were struggling to have their voice heard. There was a young man right at the front, and eventually he was able to ask about freedom passes, but he was waiting an incredibly long time. And that also applies to other residents behind me. And I found that it was very predictable the way the Reverend chaired the meeting. It was reminiscent, Joe, of the hustings when Mr. Sharma stood for re-election. And what I found on this occasion, certain community activists are given plenty of airtime to make their points and to engage with the NHS representative. And I found that, as I said, ordinary people are very limited. You know, they're shut down quite quickly. But these activists are given a lot of time to make their points, when we should be hearing from fresh voices, people who feel in a way disenfranchised and are disillusioned and don't feel that they receive representation from their MP. And I think, in all honesty, they hold us in disdain. And I'll be specific, actually. I'm talking about Ranjit Deer. There was a constituent who was talking about, I believe it was a relative or a friend who has been in temporary accommodation for 11 years, and they've been shunted around by Ealing Council. So whilst he was telling this particular story, Councillor Deer got up from the panel, walked outside of the hall to have a conversation with a few other attendees outside. That to me was the height of rudeness. And it's shocking that he believes that's acceptable to do in a public meeting. And as for Mr. Sharma, sitting in the audience, and whilst I was raising a point about my experience of the NHS in particular, my local GP, apparently he was telling the elderly people behind him to be quiet. It didn't look that way to me. But it seems going above and beyond, you know, welcome to my meeting, I'm your local MP. He's not capable of any kind of meaningful discourse with constituents. And similar to Sufyan, I struggled to have a surgery appointment with him. I wrote to him, this was in the early days of cash, and I never received a response, and I had to then chase up, didn't receive a response. I think it took about 6 months for me to receive a response. The only way I managed to see him in his constituency office on Southall Green was because of a freelance journalist. And he said to me, Mr. Sharma owes me a favour. So I went with him. And I have to say it was a very bizarre experience because he didn't say much. It seemed like he devolved powers to his assistants who kept interrupting. And I thought, you know, I was ushered in very quickly and ushered out again very quickly. One of the assistants said, well, here's the email address. I thought, why are you giving this to me? I know the email address. I've sent numerous emails to the parliamentary email address. And I think, you know, I'm quite a determined person. How many other people just give up trying to obtain an appointment with their representative? Frankly, it's time for him to go.
Angela, when Ranjit Deer left his chair, I'll give you the reason behind that. There was a couple of residents from Dormers Wells ward who wrote to Mr. Sharma in 2018 and to date have not received a reply. That's what that was about. Now, 2018 is a long time. Minnie Dogra gave me a message yesterday that I should relay to our MP, which I did. Now, this was after the meeting. She wrote regarding the Dominion Centre car park. She wrote on the 28th of December by email and also by post, by posting a letter by hand, I believe, into his letterbox, to his office on the Green. Now, I've been looking at this after the election. It's given us a lot of time to understand what is actually going on in South. And the way things are, well, this is what we found. This is how things are in South. The person who won on my area, in my ward, the message that came across to me was that I'm shocked and horrified that I won. Now, she was clearly told by people to leave their front gardens, and they didn't want to have any contact or any chat with the Labour Party. It's now come to light that the majority of the churches in Southall, the mandirs, the mosques, the gurdwaras, have been telling people which way to vote. And it was such a low turnout, it's unbelievable. Did you know, Angela and the rest of the team, that in Southall Broadway, 7,000 people did not turn out to vote? I haven't counted the rest. Now that speaks volumes. People have lost faith in the Labour Party locally, and it's diabolical. So if you were seeing people leaving halfway through that meeting because they knew it's a stitch up, again, once again, it's a stitch up. The reason why I turned up was I thought we were going to have our questions answered by our local MP, and this clearly didn't happen. So why were we lied to? They don't like the word that I use, that they lied to us. So why didn't they advertise it? We all got emails. That's how we found out about the meeting, right?
Yeah. And certainly going back to Ranjit Deer, he said that the ward forums came to an end because of the pandemic, or worse, that effect. And that is just so disingenuous, because way before the pandemic, Ealing Council made a decision to cancel the ward forums. And Joe and Sophie, and I think Jan, if you're here, you probably remember we went to the very last ward forum for Southall Broadway, and they announced it was the very last ward forum. And I can't remember the date, but it was well before the pandemic. And
I think it was 2019.
Yeah, it was before COVID, because what they said was there was going to be one more meeting, and then they were gonna stop them. Yeah. Because of the cost of it all.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's down to cost. Yeah. And the very last one actually for Southall Green didn't take place because we went into lockdown. But if we didn't go into lockdown, if the pandemic didn't occur, that last one would have occurred in March 2020.
But
so, you know, Councillor Peter Mason talked about other ways and methods to engage with residents. I've not seen any sign of that, to be honest. I have no idea. There seems to be no clear communication about engagement.
They're afraid.
Other than the multiple surveys that they are doing. And there's one about the Manor House, which has inbuilt bias because it's all geared towards letting rooms for business startups. And what I would say is we don't have a community space. I've tried to book the Dominion Centre for us to have meetings on more than one occasion. And every time I'm told, no, you know, it's not possible. It was largely to do with coming out of lockdown, and priority was given to long-standing organisations that use the centre.
We should
So I'm
write as a
conscious that
group.
two people, yeah.
We should write as a group to Peter Mason and the cabinet. Now that means it's got to be two separate letters, okay? One goes to the cabinet and one goes to Peter Mason and one goes to the CEO. So we need three letters of the same. The only thing that we have to change on it is who it's addressed to. So I believe time is right that we take over Manor House as a community group, like Southall Community Alliance have taken over
The town
Southall
hall.
Town Hall. Does it make sense?
Yeah. And what I
Can
just
we
want to
can we please
Yeah.
have a vote? Can we have a vote on that?
yeah, I'll definitely
between-
I'll draft something alongside Angela.
No, Sufyan, what I'm saying is the people that are at this meeting today, we can have a vote amongst ourselves.
Okay, sorry.
So I'm for that. What would
Yeah.
everybody
Okay.
else say?
I second that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree that we need to make our
Excuse me.
voices heard, to have access to a public domain, which we don't
Jan-
currently have.
Yes,
Jan,
definitely.
what would you?
Yeah.
Okay, so
definitely.
there you go. So there you go then. Okay. This is how we start. So we need three letters. It says the same thing in the letter. The writing is the same, but it's
just
actually
who is
addressed to
addressed
three,
to is
four separate,
different. Yeah.
three separate, four
Can I,
people.
can I just say, can I just say one thing before I forget?
Sure.
Going back to what Ange was saying and what Joe was saying about the meeting last night. When Councillor Dear left the room, I looked
Sure.
round and Dominic was sitting behind me. Yeah.
Yep.
He was absolutely enraged and he was waving at those two ladies that were at the entrance, telling them
Yep.
to get him back in here immediately.
Thank
So
you.
Dominic
'Cause it
knew
looked-
that it was disgraceful what Councillor Dear was doing. Firstly, secondly,
Well done.
when I turned up and I was a bit late with my friend, those two women were watching our group like hawks.
Of course.
I
of
think
course.
we were signalled out that we were going to be trouble. Secondly,
We're
And
not
the
trouble,
councillor-
Jan. We're vocal.
yeah, exactly.
We
That's
asked
what I
the
mean.
right
I think they saw us
questions.
they thought we were troublemakers because they were watching us. And I said to my friend Selma, I said, look how they're watching us all the time. Thirdly, as I was leaving last night, Dominic was
Yeah.
coming towards me and I actually congratulated him on writing Sharma's speech.
Well done.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems, Jan, that's a very good point. It doesn't seem that Mr. Sharma can speak freely
No.
He
of his
can't.
own volition
And even speak is the
and
question I'm
engage in a
wondering.
way, that is sort of like a back and forth with constituents.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all nice and good to have the NHS and the police and TFL and who else was there? I think that was it.
NHS.
But the thing is,
NHS,
I
Heathrow
wanted
Airport.
to hear from my MP on what
Of
he
course.
thinks of the issues that people are raising and
Yep.
what Labour policies are, and also what he can do as an MP using his parliamentary privilege, if you like.
Yeah.
Didn't get to hear any of that.
Let me.
He sat in the audience as though he was another resident.
Because the thing is, though, Andrew, he doesn't know what to say. That's the problem. Because if he opens his mouth, he doesn't know what he doesn't know what to
It
say.
doesn't make sense. I'll be honest with
Everything
you.
he read was word for word on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Dominic.
Nobody else on that
Dominic.
panel had any notes. How can you
Nope.
be a public speaker when you can't speak?
Absolutely.
Well done.
And even, I don't know if anyone's realized this, but since the start of the pandemic, he's not been to Parliament. He's been on Zoom. And every other MP across this country, from what I've realized, and when I watch the House of Commons, the House of Lords, I've seen local MPs. I've seen Mr. MacDonald, I've seen Seema, I've seen Tandesi in Parliament raising concerns that their constituents have brought to them. And I know firsthand, because I met Tandesi a couple of years ago at an event, and he was very, I would say, humble. He doesn't have an ego. He's an MP, the same level as Mr. Sharma, but Mr. Sharma has some sort of ego with him, and in a public sector job, you can't have an ego. Yes, you might have 1 million properties back home. You might have money. You might have fame. You might have whatever. You might have told your town back home that you've conquered England. But what do you do here? Is my point. You don't do anything. Now, I've spoken to Mr. Sharma one-on-one, even at the town hall when the count was going on. He said to me, I didn't think you were gonna run. I said, why not? You think I'm scared of you guys? And he goes, no, you won't know what you're doing. And I said, you don't know what you're doing.
Well, we can speak the Queen's English. We can read and write.
Yeah, I'm very well educated. I know a lot about government, a lot about local policies, a lot about my town. More importantly, I know a lot about the town I'm running in, not living in Gerrard's Cross and being a councillor for Southall, not having 1 million properties in Southall. And then you say that you want to renovate or repurpose a factory or an industrial estate for housing, which isn't safe. But anyway, that's beyond the point. The main point I want to make is people people have come to me after the election. I had about 3 people knock on my door. Obviously, my address was public. Obviously, at the ballot stations, that were not. I had 3 people knock at I live with my grandfather, as everyone knows. They knocked on my door. They'd be like, "Did you win?" And I said, "Unfortunately, not. But how could I help?" Yeah. And I have still taken on work, even though I'm not a councillor. And I said it when I was running. I don't need to be a councillor to take on work.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I still have the same love and the same care as I did prior to this election, prior to me ever thinking of running. I've still got that same love, that same interest, that same level of care. And I am still doing here and there door knocking. Like for the last month, I haven't, because obviously of my health. But after the election, I did do some door knocking. I did speak to people. I did get their concerns, and I have questioned the local councillors, but they are too scared. And I'm going to tell something on record. I have been approached by the Labour Party. But I would, Joe, if you can give me a call about this, I will speak to you privately about this. I have been approached.
Sufyan, what did they say to you?
I'm not going to say that on this meeting.
They didn't tell you to sort of meet them at the airport. Don't do that. You might end up in Nicaragua, Cuba, China,
Rwanda.
No, I'd rather go to Rwanda, I'll be honest. But no. I will talk to you, Joe, about this privately. I've not had the time to call you, but no, I have been approached, and it has scared me to an extent. But I don't fear anyone in this area. I don't fear anyone in this country. Obviously I fear the law, but that's about it. But it's not.
No, I understand.
They weren't speaking you to join the Labour Party, were they?
I'm not going to say, I'll speak to Joe off record here, because
we need someone like you to rock the boat. So get in there and rock the boat.
No, I would never, until I leave this world, I will not touch a Labour Party membership again. I was a member of the Labour Party. I wasn't listened to. I was told I'm too young to know about politics. I was told I was uneducated by members of the Labour Party. So I go, right, that's fine. If I'm uneducated, why did you sign me up? Why did you, why did you even put me forward? Yeah. Why did you put me in the CLP with Kamir Iqbal? And I spoke to Mr. Iqbal recently, and he is very shocked with what I am doing now. And I said, I am very vocal, and that's one thing about me. And this is why the Independent Network was a great party, and it still is a great party, and I'm still part of it.
We're not going to stop, Sophie. Sophie, we're not going to stop. Don't worry. We're on their backs, and they know it. Okay, they cannot make fools of us no more, or mugs, whichever way you want to look at it. Sagar, are you with us, Sagir?
I am still here, unfortunately. The great Lord has
Yes.
not taken me away yet.
Well, I hope you get well soon, brother. I hope you'll get well soon. Say your piece. Say your piece.
Oh, earlier on when you were talking about the fact that Virendra Sharma can't speak. I mean, if you go onto the parliamentary, the website where he does all his speeches, he's started doing them very regularly all of a sudden. He's actually, reading them. He's been prompted, and he doesn't know what he's actually talking about, and he looks so uncomfortable. I mean, I've got a good mind to actually sort of, tape them and dub them.
Yep.
Have a look at them. Seriously, there's a couple which I've saved, maybe, a good couple of months old. It's like auto cue or something. He's using that, and he's having difficulty pronouncing the words. He doesn't know what, there's no structure. He hasn't got the flow in there. So how can you, someone like that say to Sufyan, oh, you're uneducated? At least, people like Sufyan know what is actually going on in the local community at a level where they are in touch. He doesn't appear to be at any kind of level.
He doesn't know whether he's coming or going, Sangeet.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got that gentleman you were named, who's probably his spokesperson, who does everything for him. But that's why he's not able to, what Angela said earlier on, and Sufyan said, was the fact that if he's an elected MP, which is, a position of great responsibility. He's been elected by people of Southall to represent them. He's supposed to be our voice in Parliament, raising our concerns, raising our issues. He doesn't seem to either care, or he's definitely not doing them or raising them. So yesterday, or unfortunately I wasn't there, but it's no surprise to me the fact that he didn't actually, made himself available for questioning, because he simply wouldn't know what to say or what to do. I strongly suspect the fact that he wouldn't even probably understand the question. So he's been told by that other gentleman, look, this is the best way to do it. At least, we could say you were there. It's like what they call a damage limitation. But what they haven't realized is the fact that by doing that, they've actually made us aware of the fact that Mr. Virendra Sharma is beyond help in that sense, that he can't speak in public.
I think he's too old for the role, personally. That's my personal view.
Well,
because I saw him yesterday, and he had the shakes.
Look, we all age at different, different sort of stages in our lives. Some accelerated, some not. So I'm not sure how old he is. We can't really say on his age, but one should realize.
I would never say he's too old. I would say he said he's been an MP for this area for the last 20 years, I think he said.
Mm-hmm.
But what the thing I don't understand about Southall as a whole is I understand the vote. I'm not even saying that because the Indies didn't win. I'm saying that everyone I knocked at their doors, everybody, I'd say maybe 0.1% of people I knocked at their doors in my ward were sick and tired of Labour, were sick and tired of the councillors, were sick and tired of how the councils run. So they had an opportunity. And don't get me wrong, I am still there for anyone who lives on this ward, anyone who lives in Southall, anyone who lives in Ealing for that matter. Yep. When I was outside the polling station, I think this is because we missed last month's forum, didn't we? Yeah. So I would like to mention this in the public now. Now, I got off the bus. I was at Featherstone Road at 7 a.m. when the polling station opened at Featherstone Primary School, because that was one of the polling stations that I was getting votes from. And then I moved on to Waltham Road, the church. I'm not too sure what the full name of the church is, so I do apologize. There's a church on Waltham Road opposite Puri Pharmacy. opposite Super Sings, and Councillor Anand, Councillor Dinsa, and there was a few other Labour Party team were there. I got off the bus. Bear in mind, the bus stop is right outside the church. Now, I read the electoral protocol word for word before I ran. I spoke to the independent network lead a day before the polling, so I knew where I could stand at a polling station, what I can do at a polling station, what I can't do at a polling station, more importantly. She said to me, you're not allowed to enter a polling station. If you are voting on that ward, you must remove and leave everything you have which shows any sort of voting material, that is leaflets, rosettes, pamphlets, anything at all. You aren't even allowed to talk to anyone once you're in that polling station and tell them actually you are running. Bear that in mind for a second. So I wasn't voting at that wasn't my, because I moved to Norwood, like I'm in the Norwood Green ward, because the boundaries changed. I'm just one road out of the Green. But I've lived in this house all my life, and so I followed the protocol word for word. However, this is where the corruption lies, and this is corruption. Councillor Jasper Anand entered that polling station with her rosette on, with her leaflets in her hand, and security did not say diddly squat to her.
Well,
I then said to security, is it okay for me to enter then? Because he goes, no, she's going to vote. I go, why has she got her rosette on? And why has she got a load of leaflets in her hand then? And why is she was actually, her and Councillor Dinsa were obstructing people. And you're not allowed to obstruct anyone entering a polling station as a candidate, nor as anyone who is helping the candidates, the canvassers. They were physically saying, oh, we are at position, I remember this, position 2, position 12, and position 13, X all 3. So I decided, I said, right, is that allowed? So I was telling people, right, this is my name. I am at position 1. If you want to vote for change, and this is what I was saying, I wasn't saying vote for me. Throughout this campaign, I've not said vote for me at all. I've said vote for change. And I'm very glad that the Labour votes went down. And that is a step forward for Southall. I am very happy that that other opposition parties, including ourselves at the Independent Network, stepped in and said to people, actually, there is this time a viable change, there is a reasonable change, there is a logistical change which can happen, because Ealing Labour is not diplomatic, is not democratic, is not for the people. Ealing Labour is a set-up organization for the wealthy and nobody else. The Labour Party, when they set out many moons ago, they were set up for the working class. They were set up. I remember when my family came here in the 80s, sorry, in the 70s, when my grandfather came here in 72, the Labour Party helped migrants from all across the world. That's the East, that's the further out, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Africa, where my family came from, Turkey, wherever you came from. The Labour Party were actually signing forms and helping people. And I'm not saying that is right or that is wrong, but the way I saw it was the way life, not the way life, the way the party has changed over the 50 years. I said to people, I spoke to youngsters, people who I went to school with, called me and said, I've got a leaflet through my door and your picture's on it. What's going on? So I've not spoken to many people from high school in many years. Yep. I had someone message me who left high school in year 8 and they remembered my name because they've seen me on these public forums. They go, so what, are you a politician? I go, I'm not a politician. I'm a person who cares about this area. I need change. And I got, and I wasn't hurt. I wasn't bothered by it, but a councillor, I believe, said to me yesterday while I was speaking, oh, shut up, you only got 247 votes. And I said, yeah, well, that's 247 people who saw sense and who didn't. And I don't mean no disrespect to anyone who's voted Labour. It's fair enough. If you believe in the party policies, that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and say anything bad. I'm not going to badmouth anyone because it's not the style I work in. I'm not like certain politicians. I'm not a politician. Yeah, that's far from it. I'm a person who cares about this area. When she said
No,
that,
but Sufyan, if you look at the people who were at that meeting yesterday, where did all the middle class people come from?
Ealing.
So if you concentrate on that for a moment, I wonder what went through their heads when they heard or they found out what's going on at this meeting, yeah, that it's a farce. And at the same time, the reason why people like Councillor Nand, Dinsa, were standing around the church hall, is this the church hall on Featherstone Road and Walton Road near the doctor's surgery?
That's correct.
Right, that's my doctor's. That's my doctor's, Belmont Medical Centre. Now,
next to the car wash.
Of course.
Yeah.
The reason why they were standing there in person, because what they've done very cleverly or craftily, what they've done is cunningly, they've gone for the new arrivals. Okay. Sega will back me up on this. Sega, do you remember St. Anselm's Church?
Yes, I do indeed. Yes, Joe.
How many people came out of that church that evening? So what they've done is they've gone for the votes for the new arrivals. That's what's happened here. That's how it's worked.
Yeah, and I honestly, because I remember even during the count, I had Labour Party candidates hassle me. Me being a 20-year-old, I don't even want to bring my age into it because it's not about age.
Sufyan, please. We were going into the polling stations. Yeah, we've got witnesses, yeah, who, when you were getting your card checked, yeah, and they were telling you, oh, you're voting Labour. So could you think of how many people who could not read the voting cards?
Yeah, that's what they were saying, position one, wherever they were.
Thank you. And no, I'm talking about the people who were inside the polling stations. Yeah. Now, what I'm against is, why were all those people Asian, number one? Okay. Number two, why is it the same people in the same schools? It's a fix, man. It's a setup. Yeah, it's a setup. Because I was
I'm going to say, I'm going to leave it, Joe. I'm just going to say this once and once only. At the next election, I will still be here. I will still be running.
Hopefully we'll all be here.
We all will be. No, as in, you know what I mean? Like, we are all still here. We aren't going anywhere. Labour, I know you're going to be watching this. Ealing Labour, I know you watch this in your meetings. I know you have a discussion about these meetings. So here's a message to you guys. Councillor Mason, don't be scared at the next election when you're questioned, when you're held accountable, because your open and transparent council is just, we can see right through you. That's why you're going to say, I can see right through you, not transparent. Transparency is something else. Seeing right through someone is something else. There's a difference, mate. But you seriously need to have a long, hard look at yourself, because you gave a lot, and even your colleagues, the ex-mayor of Ealing told one of our candidates' mother, who is in her 70s, to shut the, I don't want to say the word, up in the town hall while the count was when the results were being released. And we've got the video footage. I've got the video footage where he told that. And the electoral committee needs to find out about what sort of Ealing Labour does in the counts, because that's why there is no filming. Obviously, there's other reasons why, but it's very strange that. But then when they were announcing the results, They were all huddled together, pushed everyone to the back, including the Tory candidates, including the Lib Dem candidates, including the Green Party, and they all huddled straight in the front. And I've got pictures of this and I've got evidence of this. And I got pushed personally by a Labour councillor, a newly elected Labour councillor, out of the way because I was trying to get near the front. So I stood back and I go, that's fine. I'm just an independent, but I've still got the same right as you do to be here. And I still got the same entitlement as you do, because right now you are not a councillor. And I noticed when they were doing the count, a lot of the ladies, and I'll be honest with you, Joe, a lot of the counts were disqualified. A lot of the votes were disqualified, and I was watching because you can actually see everything. You can see the papers, and I saw about 15 or 20 of our papers go in the bin straight away. Yeah,
it was worse than that. It was worse than that, Sufyan.
I know, but just from what
did you go outside to see where the police were parked up?
Yeah.
Did you see the police van?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, picture this, okay? The police van was parked not far from the tent itself. Got it? Right. Now, if you took a walk where that path or that drive meets the main road, yeah? And you look on your right-hand side, that's where the cars were coming back with the black boxes. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't see the entrance.
Well, we've got a witness, yeah, who said that the black boxes were coming out. Some went left, yeah, towards the police van and then into the tent, and some went across the road into another council building.
Behind the town hall, the actual town hall.
Thank you. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I saw it firsthand, Joe. That's why I went there at about 7, 8 o'clock when I put that message on the group early, because I wanted to see what was going on. And I personally witnessed a lot of corruption that night. Yeah.
Boxes going missing. Boxes going missing. Boxing taking walks into other buildings.
Because I actually had a counter with me. I counted over 3,000 people while I was there for an hour who went to vote.
No, what I'm saying is when the supervisors or the managers from the voting halls or schools or churches were collecting the black boxes, it was their duty then to drive those boxes to Percival House. But the police van was too far back. They could not see to the right. Okay? Now, that's where the boxes were coming out of the vehicles and going towards the tents. Okay? So some boxes went across the road into the old town hall building. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we have a witness for that. Okay? He told us that he personally saw this happening right in front of his eyes. This is a farce, man. So don't worry. Okay, we're not giving up. If anything, we're much stronger. And the reason why I say that is we didn't have thousands of people know us. Okay, but now thousands of people do know us. All right. And I've had people speak to me and they've been saying, Joe, why don't you knock the doors? Okay. And frankly, I've told them the truth. We did not have enough people to knock the doors. But everything that we stand for, we wrote. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Everything we were going to stand or are standing for, we wrote in our leaflets. Now, if you look at what Ealing Council are doing, okay, Ealing Council now have decided they want advice from the residents, okay, regarding this and regarding that. Also, they've now decided that the care workers are key workers in the community and they deserve a pay rise. We wrote that in our manifesto. You see which way it's going now? We've woken the Labour Party. They've been sleeping on the job, okay? And let's see what else other ideas they nick of us. But as long as it's good for the community, that's what we stand for.
And that's all I care about. Yeah, as long
Of
as, and
course.
I've got a message with Councillor Dinser, because I spoke to Councillor Dinser one-on-one at a polling station, and then he said that he won't be able to be at the count, so if I can text him. So I kept my promise and I kept my word. No matter what happened, I'm still diplomatic, and I still believe in democracy. So I said to him, of course, Councillor, once I know your result, I will let you know. So I messaged him. I'll read out the message. You give me 1 second. Let me just pull this up on WhatsApp. Yep. So on the 5th of May, at 22:55, he goes, "Hi, Sufyan. My apologies if I spelt your name wrong. You are a very nice young man. Whatever happens tonight, be proud." So then I sent him the results at about 1:49 the previous day, because it was like 4 a.m. when I got in from the count, and I said to him, "Congratulations." He goes, "Thank you." And I said to him, "Make a difference, please." And I left it there. I never received a response after that.
He don't like you no more.
Yeah, he does respond to me, and
Yeah, no,
he's
he does.
actually
I will
offered,
admit.
Sufyan, he's actually offered to go on a walkabout
Well
on
done.
Southall Green.
Yeah.
So,
Well done.
I'm gonna,
I will
take
admit.
him up on that, because,
Yep.
just to digress a little bit, on Monday night, I popped to Western Road with my daughter to put some money on her Oyster card.
Mhm.
And literally, I would say every 3 minutes, we were stopping and taking photographs of litter and fly
Rubbish.
tipping.
Yeah.
It was terrible, really bad. And I've created a Facebook page called Streets of Southall. I'll share the link later so you can see for yourself all the photographic evidence of how bad the streets are locally. Anyway, the reason why I got in touch with him, round the back of where I live on Johnson Street, there's an industrial estate, and there are 2 incinerators on this estate burning plastic materials. So if you can imagine your neighbour next door having a bonfire practically every day and chucking old plastic containers on it, and the smell entering your home, and worse than that, making you cough, making you dizzy, giving you a headache, it's that bad. And Ealing Council have an environmental protection officer allocated to Southall, not the team that Councillor Peter Mason promised last year. But typically, when you contact this individual, he has other visits to do. And by the time he turns up, if he turns up, the smell has dissipated. So there's no independent witnessing of what's going on. But anyway, sometime this week, Councillor Dinser arranged to meet him. So that's certainly something I'll be following up on.
And
can I go back to the meeting last night? Because I'm very intrigued as to why Reverend Mark Paulson was the chair. And I just feel that it's really about keeping us in our place, because he kept saying repeatedly that we need to raise the level of discourse. And I found that really condescending, because I thought, I haven't been to any meetings with Sharma, and he held, I think, a couple online, or maybe more, during lockdown. And there was no bad behavior. Nobody showed him disrespect. So why is Mark constantly talking about raising the level of discourse, as though somehow we are problematic in the way that we conduct ourselves in public? And at the end, he seemed to be apologizing, I can't remember his exact words, for the tone of the meeting to the panelists. And my reaction is, well, why are you apologizing? People are angry because they are poor, they are dispossessed, they are not listened to, they find that their concerns are not acted upon. what do you expect? Do you expect people to be clap happy? So, you know, I'd like your view, Sufyan, on the chairing of the meeting, and you too, Joe.
Yeah, so so the way I saw it last night, it reminded me of, I don't know if I know Jan, Joe, Bob, and Angela and myself were there at the Southall Waterside meeting held and chaired by Councillor Mason. It reminded me for some reason, it reminded me of that meeting. It was predominantly controlled by a demographic of crowd which wasn't reflective of Mr. Sharma's constituency. I'm not going to just say Southall, because obviously he does Ealing Southall, he does Elthorne, and he does so on and so forth. It did not help that he was saying we need to correct. I mean, I said it at the start of this call, everyone's a witness. I said, yeah, we do need to be respectful. And as a chair, I'm not the chair of this meeting, Joe Bango is, but as a chair, you have to be impartial. Yeah, no matter if you're sided to one way or another, you have to stay neutral. And Mark Paulson, I've known Reverend Mark for about 8 years now. I would say 7, 8 years. I don't have a bad word to say about the gent. He's a very lovely guy at a personal level. However, last night I saw a very different side to him. And I know people who go to that church, and individuals sadly did get upset because they go to that church and they couldn't voice their concern because they were concerned it was going to affect them at a personal level. So they left.
Of course.
And I don't feel that was right for a religious, not religious
organization.
A religious organization to hold that meeting. Now, it's said on the letter, and Reverend Mark did apologize for putting the town hall name down and the church down, and it was confusing for me because I didn't know where I was going. I had to ring Angela 3 times because it said the town hall, but it was the church, and I got to the church. It wasn't in the church, it was behind the church. So I was very confused. So what I would say going forward, because me being a Muslim, I do go to other places of worship, obviously to show respect, because I've had friends, loved ones die, and I'm very close with them. So I've gone to Gurdwaras, I've gone to mandirs, I've gone to synagogues, I've gone to churches, I've gone to other places of worship, and I don't mind. But for some, I'm talking from myself and from a cultural perspective, most people won't go to a church because they don't believe in, not believe necessarily, but they it's cultural. They won't go to another place of worship apart from the place of worship they belongs to their faith. So I don't feel that was when I say a safe environment, I don't mean that it was unsafe in the terms of safety, but I mean, it wasn't a space where everybody felt 100% comfortable, including myself last night, I'll be honest. Not because it was in a church, but because it was a very one-sided meeting. And I would say going forward, Mr. Sharma, you have got the facility, I know you do, to hire out Southall Town Hall. You've got the money. If you don't have the money, you could you could speak to your leader of your council, Councillor Mason, and get the funding from central government if you actually need it. Because I know personally, when ward forums got cancelled, I know people personally who would pay for the building, who would pay.
No, but Sufyan, Sufyan, what you're missing, and yeah. I'm sure at the meeting it was said, and the person who said this was Mark himself. He said Mr. Sharma, the local MP, doesn't get involved in local politics.
Local affairs.
Same thing.
Yeah.
If you have a situation with the council. Now, the way I look at things is from a different angle. I'm looking, should religious organizations be involved in politics, number one? We are going to read the rules and regulations for the Charities Commission, because these religious places are governed, I believe, by that organization. So that's why they don't care about the local people. They know they've got their people in these religious houses. All they have to do is have a meeting with them. And then if you want to slander somebody, okay, you can slander people through 2-3 people in a religious home rather than going with a speaker to all of Southall.
Yeah.
Now, there's things that I'm holding back, which I do say privately, and I have said this privately. We know exactly what's going on. We're grown up now, Sophia. We've learned a lot about the local political situation in Southall. We know what people like you've named are up to. Okay, we've been watching cars. Okay, and those Ealing Town Hall cars have been spotted in certain places. All right, so this is a gang you're dealing with. Okay, all right, they're a gang. That's all I have to say. Okay, I was threatened last time, yeah, by people from Ealing Council saying they wanted to sue me. All right, the message was sent to me, all right, through somebody who's actually on the committee. And I said, bring it on, I have no problem. All right, I don't lose court cases, I win court cases. Yeah, and I said, if I lose, I'll make sure that you get compensated £2 a month. All right. So this is serious business you're in. Politics is a very serious, dirty business in Southall. And I didn't realize it goes to the heart of religion. It goes to the heart of religion.
But
Who
Joe,
do you
just
think? Well, we were putting out posters, okay, on South of Broadway, on South Road, all right? And somebody was coming around and taking our posters off. It didn't happen to you guys in King Street, okay? Because you didn't have the posters on King Street. People like Happy, right? Rashpal, they were spending all day up and down the high street, on the Broadway, putting up leaflets, the signs, the posters, and somebody was coming and taking them off. And we were asking people, please tell us who told you to take these off. But now we know who it was, okay? We know who's involved. We know who's behind it, all right?
And yeah, I just want to talk about the religious organization quickly.
Yep.
So I went to the local mosque, Central Jamia Masjid on Montague Road, sorry. And I spoke to the Imam there. They agreed to meet with me. I went there one day after work. I don't know if you remember this, Ange. They were happy for me to do a talk on the Friday prayer. I got there on a Friday afternoon for afternoon prayer, and I walked up to the front, and the guy goes, sorry, we've been told for you not to speak.
There you go.
So I said, by who? And they go, we've been told. And I said, right. So I would have come to pray anyway, but I'll go, you've wasted my time all week, because I've been in talks with you all week. I've been there every single day talking to the people who attend the mosque, and they were told, they said, for me not to speak. So I go, that's fine. But when it comes to when it comes to problems and stuff, again, they want help, but they don't get help, but they don't want change. Then, and when I say they don't want change, they might say they want
help.
change.
Can I say something quickly, Joe? Sufyan.
Yeah.
Sufyan, you mentioned earlier on the fact that some of our community members from Southall belonging to different religions will find it not in their heart, or very demeaning to go to another place of worship. So if I go to a mosque, I'm going to find it difficult to go to a church. Now, that's kind of shocks me at this day and age, where we're living in a multicultural society, cosmopolitan society. In Southall, we've got all the religions that there are. You've got Christians, you've got Muslims, you've got Hindus, you've got Sikhs, you've got Jains, you've got quite a few other Rastafarianism. You even got a few Jewish people living here.
Community.
So this day and age, if anyone, I don't care whether they're 100 years old or 16-year-old, says, I'm not going to that meeting that took place because it's in a church, seriously, that person is not worth, as a human being, any value to me at all. If that meeting, one would get a 75 inch.
I can't hear him.
Can't hear you, Zagir. Can't hear you.
You can't hear me.
That's
No,
better.
Go ahead,
Can you
go
just
ahead.
repeat what you said?
Oh, what I said was there's a point where Sufyan said earlier on that.
No, we heard that. We heard that.
Oh, what I was saying is, I find it quite. It's not
He's breaking up.
Like
I can't
that
make
there
out.
are people in age, whether they're 80, 90 with old school values, or young millennium 17, 16-year-olds who would say, oh, I'm not going to that meeting because it's in a church. It doesn't make any sense. Those people are, as far as I'm concerned, not worth even thinking about. I can't really think what they, what value they got. But I can assure you, if that leaflet had stated that there was a 75-inch TV from LG available, it wouldn't have mattered. Everyone would have turned up. So, I believe there are certain people like that, because even look, I'm a Muslim, and I go to the Townsend Road Mosque. I used to anyway. I haven't been for 12 years. So, I believe, really, that God is a personal thing. I don't need to go to a church or a mosque or here and there. It's a one-to-one connection, which I believe many religions to. Yeah.
But it's just why I say that is because it's just, it might, because obviously I know people who live even on my road who say that they won't. And I know it's not. I know we live in such a multicultural society. I went home. My school was like.
Yep. So Sufyan, what you need to say to these people, you're living in a kafir society, yet you're benefiting. You take the benefits from this. You send your children in this society. You're living in a non-believer society. So what are you doing in this country? For a Muslim, you know what a Muslim is? It states in the Quran and the Holy Prophet that whatever country you live in, you adhere to that particular society. You live by the rules of that society. So, you can't have every single piece of the pie and then ignore a certain one. That's not right. Not nowadays, man. Not nowadays.
Yeah, no, I get
I can
that,
understand if it was
all I'm saying is
we're alienated in Kashmir or. No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not having a personal attack against you. I'm stating the fact that you said, this is what you've heard. True. Listen, I asked my own dad, who are you going to vote for in the elections? This was in April. He goes, "Apna koi vote karega, Pakistani." Obviously, they're talking about they're talking about Mr. Khan, innit? I go, listen. You go to this Townsend Road Mosque. It's a residential place. That mosque has been there for 50 years. What have all these Pakistani councillors that you've elected have done anything? Nothing. We're going to vote our own kind. Right, all right. You vote him. You stay in that position. Your particular bunch of community ain't going to get nowhere, mate. Carry on.
They're living in the past.
What's this Mr. Khan going to do now? Yeah. Listen, they're holding on to values which they grew up in the 50s and 60s from villages or towns in Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, wherever. But those people who they left behind are more adhered, clued up now than these people are here.
No, I know. And this is what I saw it, but Sagir, I saw it firsthand at the polling station, and Nand and Linz are saying, they said this child in Punjabi, I don't know how to pronounce the word, so I'm not even going to attempt it. They go, this child, he's just making noise. He won't do it. Yeah, it's Labour who's going to do something.
Listen, Labour they've got a monopoly over everything. They've got the finances, they've got the connections. What did the average Labour councillor get? About 1,000 votes. Ealing Independent 200. A fifth of those votes from doing what, a couple of months' work. You're not even So it was
But Anand said to me, this is one thing. The councillor said to me, we don't need to door knock anymore.
Thank you.
Yeah, because we know exactly what they use. They've got connections. They think they're very clever. Listen, they're not very clever. What happens when people are there for so long, they become complacent.
Sagir, I think personally, a letter should go out to the Charities Commission.
Of course,
because they're playing the religious card, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. Now,
that is one of the bases. Yeah,
Sagir, as you know, I'm a
Sikh. They know
myself,
Asians rely. Are you a Sikh?
I'm a Sikh myself.
Joe, serious?
Now, I'm a Sikh, but I'm undercover. I don't wear a turban. Now, what I've
I can't talk to you now. I'm not allowed to talk to Sikhs.
Oh, sorry. Now, what I've been finding out is that why the temple was interested in voting in Labour is now they want to build flats at Park Avenue. Okay, so it's all propaganda. They played us. That's what I'm trying to explain to you, for their personal gain, because they think under Labour they will get the planning permission for the flats. Okay, now we've always we've always said enough is enough. We don't need no more flats in Southall. Now, what happened at the meeting last night? One gentleman from the temple in Western Road, he actually stood up and was complaining about the traffic. So, in other words, I want to laugh, but I don't want to laugh, okay? He was saying that his congregation can't get back out of the temple onto the main road, which is Western Road. And I did speak out saying, just wait and see what's going to happen in the future. It's going to be actually gridlocked. It is gridlocked now. I know somebody who lives on Scott's Road, Angela, and that person, I've got to laugh, that person went for a driving lesson. The person came to pick him up from Hayes. By the time he got into the vehicle at Scott's Road, he ended up at Brent Road. It was an hour.
I can believe that quite easily. Yeah. It's bad at times, peak times. I've turned round. I've got to the end of Scott's Road, seen the traffic on Brent Road, and thought, you know what? I'll go home and forget about going out until the following morning. Yeah.
That's why I know some driving instructors, they will not do clients in Southall.
The Southall run. Now, the other thing is, I want to put this to our group. I'm sure you've all heard the good news. The Secretary of State has said that we can have a public inquiry about the Dominion car park being closed and Peabody building so many flats there. That's number one.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Number,
when was it announced?
Yes. Last week I got the message.
Oh,
so
excellent.
That means we're knocking on the right doors, okay? Now what we got to do is we've got to stand up tall for the yak. We want the same for the yak. And any other
Amber Tavern, or is that too late?
No, we should go for that as well.
Do you know what's happening with that? That's going to be a 161 bedroom hotel.
Really?
Terrible.
Where's that? Sorry, Ange.
Amber Tavern.
Really?
Where's that?
We've already got a hotel.
I don't go to pubs, Ange. I don't know.
Oh, okay. But I mean, to me, that's ludicrous to build a hotel there. Just down the road, over the border in Hayes, you've got Hyatt Place, which is a massive hotel.
Used to be Bridge House. Now that's turned into a hotel. So why would we want to build another hotel to destroy someone who spent 5-6 million already? It doesn't make sense.
Should be turned into a community hub of some sort.
I think, judging by Facebook, Sagia, people are up in arms because they say there's a lot of history to do with the Southall riots connected with the tavern.
That's correct. Yes, yes.
Of course, that was the the focal point. It used to be an old Tudor style church, pub, but it got burned down, and that's why then it was rebuilt with the brick. It was a brick turned into Mary's Ale House. There's a lot of significance to it.
Sorry, I'm just cautious of time. It is 20:09 now. We've got about 15 minutes. All
right, can we, like before, I mean, Steve's a new person here. He introduced himself briefly. If you could, Sufyan, maybe ask the people who haven't actually spoken if they've got anything.
Steve, Rashpal, Jan, Bob, sorry. Would anyone like to raise anything? I do apologize that the same four people have been rambling on. But this is just because there's a lot going on.
Zarina got so fed up, she left about half an hour ago.
Who, sorry?
I said Zarina. Yeah, there was another lady earlier on. Yeah, she went.
Steve, do you want to say something? You are muted.
Yeah, hang on. I'll just turn on my camera. There you go. So,
hello,
hi guys.
Steve. How you doing? You all right?
Hello, I'm good. So this is my first meeting, and as I said earlier, I came along last night. And,
I recognise you.
all of you guys were on fire last night, and you're on fire again tonight. So I'm just really finding it all really interesting, listening to everything that you've got to say. I've lived in Southall for about 12 years. I live next to Ealing Hospital.
Sure.
So I think Norwood Green's my ward. And actually, I can't even remember his name, but he's the new Labour councillor in Norwood Green that was there last night.
John Martin?
Yeah,
John Martin.
I don't know what you guys think of him, but he came and spoke to me afterwards. And I don't know if you saw, I tweeted last night a short little video of all the cars parked along the Broadway on the pavements.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he picked that up and he's responded to it. And he said he's already arranged a meeting with... I can't remember the initials, but the guys that do control the parking.
EP's head officers.
They're a private company.
Yeah. So he said he's got a meeting with them, and he said he's arranged that today. So I wait and see what that does. But
that's good. That's good. At least we've got one councillor who's doing something.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he's a newbie, so he's going to maybe try harder than the others. But he seemed quite impressive to begin with. So.
He's an estate agent in, I think it's Pitsanger.
Yeah, I googled him actually and saw that.
After the meeting last night, I was speaking to the police officer about the parking that I raised at the meeting, and he said to me that he personally knows the top guy at Ealing to do with parking enforcement and stuff like that. And he assured me that he was going to email this guy today. And make sure that they put people out on the streets looking what's going on, because I showed him a photograph of what I encountered just on my way to the meeting last night down Western Road as well. At one point at the top of Western Road, there was 5 cars parked on the pathway.
Shameful. Good thing is, what comes out of a meeting, is that we put pressure, okay, and then we're worth our salt. At the end of the day, we have to stand up for the bad things in Southall because we live here. It's our community. We are the community, and that's why we care. So no, it's good. We should put our foot down and find faults in what the Labour Party are not interested in. And if I may say, the reason why nobody gives a damn about Southall is because they've had what they wanted. They know they're free, home and free for the next 4 years because no one's going to question them. And Southall can rot, it doesn't matter. And that's a shame with politics in Southall. And that's what we've always been moaning about.
Don't you think Sharma, I'm sure I've seen, isn't Sharma, he's 73 or 74 years old. So surely if the general election's in a couple of years' time, he's going to be 75, 76. Surely he's going to be retiring. And my concern then is that they're just going to stick Mason. They'll stick Mason in.
No way. Steve.
No.
No, way. Steve, the person within the Labour Party, there are a couple of candidates. One of them is Dr. Sahota. The second one, there's inner fighting already. And the other one is just Jasbir Anand. So they're all at it. Yeah.
I reckon
Peter Mason was only brought into Southall for the development of Southall because none of these councillors could have meetings with the developers. And this is the information that I've received from the Labour Party. So that's the way it goes, unfortunately. You know, there's nobody capable enough to sit in front of these developers. Now, our focus should be on no more flats in Southall, number one, period, end of story. And even if, look, even if my religion, Sikhism, the Sikh people in Southall want the flats, which is on Park Avenue, that should be a big no as well. Because the infrastructure is clearly not there. Now, I'm sure everybody knows, my mother passed away on the 4th of June, which was a Saturday. And because my mother, you know, we looked after her at home, no doctor went to see my mum. That's how busy the doctor surgeries are. And the undertakers were saying, we can't do anything till the doctor does not turn up and gives us a green form. Now, you know, I've not done funerals in my life. And Angela, thank you for your thoughts. I'm
sorry for your loss and my condolences.
Thank you, dear. I don't have any issues with health, but I was taken back. You know, the last 3 years that the last 3 weeks that we've had has been awful because we've not done funerals before. You know, we've not dealt with situations like this, and it's been very painful. But what I found was that my older sister was ringing the doctor, and he kept promising, "I'll go tomorrow, I'll go the day after, I'll go the day after," because there's too many patients in a surgery.
Joe,
No doctor is going to leave his surgery and run to the undertakers, and then what's going to happen to all his patients that he's got to see?
Joe, let me just come in there, please. That is negligence of care. There was a death in my surgery the other day. Yep.
Sufyan, you can call it whatever you want. Sufyan, my brother, you can call it whatever you want. But as far as I was concerned, my family was suffering because our mum was in a fridge. Are you with me? And my mother never liked the cold. So it was, you know, we were in dire straits. We didn't know what to do. And all we wanted to do was to have the funeral. You understand? And let her rest in peace. And it was awful, awful. I'll give you an example.
You were being held up from following the funeral, right?
Thank
you
you.
wanted to.
Thank you. And it was very painful. And everybody suffered in my family, you know, and the nail in our coffin was when we used to go to see our mum at the undertakers, no parking spaces whatsoever. You know, that's how shameful the Labour Party are in Southall. I will make a film about this, because how is it that you cannot go and visit somebody who's passed away in a resting home and there's no parking? The people who run this funeral parlor told me that their vehicles get parking tickets when they've got a body, when they've got somebody's mum or dad or brother or sister in the back of the vehicle. I've not heard of anything like this in the hearse. It's shameful.
Shocking.
Joe.
Yes, Jen.
Joe, I'm sorry again. Sorry for the loss of your mum. I know how hard it is after losing my mum only a couple of years ago, and how hard it hit me. You see, the problem is, I think I'm very, very lucky. My doctor's surgery is fantastic. Yeah, I've had the same doctor's surgery since I was born, been living in Southall. And when I hear, like I did last night, about people can't get doctor's appointments, can't get to speak to the doctor, can't do things like that, I can't believe, not that I can't believe it, because I do believe it, but I find it's absolutely disgraceful. I mean, I'm very lucky. I mean, I rang my doctor 2 weeks ago regarding I've got tennis elbow.
Sure.
Doctor rang me back that day, 1 o'clock, spoke to him, and by Friday I was in there having an injection in my arm. And I was really impressed with the service I got from my GP. Now, on the other flip side, my neighbour, who's 92, came out of hospital about 3 weeks ago. He's now not mobile, he's incontinent and needs incontinent pads. I was told by the carers that, okay, ring his doctor, takes about 2 weeks to get a referral, and you'll get the incontinent pads on the NHS or whatever, social care.
Sure.
So I did that. He's been out of hospital now 4 weeks. I've been having to buy them online, so I'm spending about £80 every 2 weeks on them for him.
Crazy.
And he's 92. So the other day I rang up the district nurse at Featherstone. No, he's not on our records. You need to speak to the district nurse in Hounslow, which I did. This was on Tuesday. To be told,
Sure.
I said, I've been told I need to speak to Isabel. No, Isabel, she's the skin vitality nurse, whatever, tissue viability nurse, sorry. And I said, okay. And I said, well, that's what I was told. It was Isabel. The woman came back to me, oh yeah, it was Isabel. Let me send her a message. I'll get her to ring you. I said, well, it is urgent because he needs these pads urgently. I'm still waiting for a return phone call.
Shameful.
How long have you been waiting, Jan?
He's been waiting 4 weeks. They done the referral. They did the referral. They came to see him 2 weeks ago about
Jan, after this meeting, give me a call. I'll help you out with this because I know what to do with this, because it's happened to a patient of mine, and I know who to go to. Just give me a call after this meeting, and I'll.
Yeah.
It's disgraceful, isn't it, that the NHS is supposed to be from the cradle to the grave. This man has a need, an entitlement, and it's not being met.
Yeah.
And it's about his dignity. And if you weren't buying his pads, he'd be sitting in his own soiling. That's what it would come down to.
And one of the things I've noticed, which is not generally with the any role in any organization with customer service is what is, you got to remember, is people there. And these people, humans lately have become self-centered. They don't care about others, especially when they're working for a company. There's ways of doing, there's, like contingency plan. When you set up something, you have certain ways to follow and do things, but then there's certain situations which demand bypassing those. People, it's a sad thing that, what Jan told about, probably like Sufyan, it's probably just one phone call directly to someone who gets sorted out. These people can't be bothered to do it, or they're not made aware of that. That's why it's taken 4 weeks.
And what I'd suggest everyone in this call and anyone who's watching this on YouTube, please ring your GPs and check, because catchment areas have changed recently. If you are outside your GP catchment area, they necessarily won't deduct you. But if you need anything urgent, like a referral, or do apologize, any referrals, any additional help from external services, they will refuse to help you and you'll be stuck. Ring your GPs when you get a minute.
This is the problem, Sufyan. With my neighbour, he lives in Southall, as in Southall Green, Ealing Broadway, but his GP is Crosslands Surgery in the Hounslow Borough.
Yeah.
So they're arguing over there seems to be, they're arguing on who's got a fund.
Yeah, that's what it is, where the funding comes out. Comes out.
It's not. No, it's not the funding. Every GP practice.
It's who's responsible for it.
It's
Hounslow.
not.
It should be Hounslow.
It's because in the surgery I work for in Southall, the catchment area, we've got patients from all across London in that practice, and I've spoken to the patients. I've called them because I've audited the list. I've rang them. I go, you used to live in this area maybe 15 years ago, but now you're outside the catchment area, so I can't deduct you because it comes under, again, negligence, because you were denying a patient to see a GP. But I have sent letters to them and I said, look, we will give you X amount of time to try and find another GP locally. If you need any help, give us a call and we can sort of signpost you where to go. Because a lot of these people, unfortunately, they are from a lot of the patients I speak to are from an Asian background who can't really speak English, and the language barrier is an issue for me at work on a daily basis. My colleagues absolutely hate me because I refuse to speak any other language apart from English, because I simply just can't conversate in any other language apart from English and my home language. So it's very difficult, but I still manage to get my job done. And I've spoken to patients, I go, look, you do now live in Southend, or you do live in, I had one in Sheffield. So if a GP does need to do a house call, our GP won't come up to Sheffield. Our GP won't come to Southend because we physically can't.
But it's a con though, Sufyan. It's a con because your surgery is receiving funding for that patient. And that patient can't have appointments with you.
No, they can have appointments, Joe. This is where it comes down to it. So you can have an appointment with us. You're more than happy to have an appointment with us. But it becomes an issue with referrals and stuff, because when we do referrals, I do referrals personally, and they bounce back because the service in Ealing follow the catchment area dot to dot. Even if you're 0.0001 mile outside that catchment area, the referral automatically gets rejected because we have to put the patient.
So this patient gonna drive from Sheffield to come and have an appointment with your doctors?
No, so this is why we tell them when they move house, I personally always, when they move house and they hand me that change of address form, I check the address, I check the catchment area. If they're still in the catchment area, it's fine. If they're outside the catchment area, I just tell them that you have moved outside the catchment area. The GP will still be your GP, but it will be harder to do things for referrals. And I experienced this.
But that shouldn't be allowed. No, that shouldn't be allowed, because your surgery is receiving funding for that patient.
But Joe, this isn't the policy the practice has made. This isn't the policy the doctors made. This is central NHS, and this is central NHS policy. If they're outside the catchment area, they shouldn't be registered with us. But
you shouldn't be receiving money for them. That's what I'm saying.
Sufyan, what the GPs see, they're crafty. How much do they get per patient per year? Then what figure is it? About 1,000?
I'm not too sure.
We have to do an FOI
figure,
and find out from National Health Service.
Yeah. So listen, guys, let me get this one in. The GPs know that this patient is living on the other side of the UK in Scotland. They're happy to keep him on the books because they're getting that money.
Yep.
What they should do, if that patient hasn't turned up for 6 months, write to him, automatically Get him stuck
No,
up.
take him off the
No,
register.
that's what we do. We
so
send
it's
out.
all right.
normally
It's all right to
what
take
normally
that
happens-
government
No,
funding of
Sergey,
1,000 or 5.
Senge, let me just explain this to you. I personally send out I ring them 3 times. If I can't get through in 3 attempts, I send them a letter. If they don't respond to that letter within 28 days, this is the policy I have to follow. This is in my job description. I've got the whole policy on this laptop I'm calling off today. Yeah. That is the protocol we have to follow. Yeah. I have to follow the protocol as directed by my line manager, as directed by central NHS. The central NHS tell the doctor tell my line manager tells my supervisor feeds information to me. I do my job in accordance to what I get told. Yeah, I don't make the call to say, right, you live in, say, Croydon, CR40, I'm deducting you. If I do that, I lose my job instantly.
Yeah, because your surgery is conning the National Health Service, and not only your surgery, all of the surgeries in Southall are conning the National Health Service.
Listen,
Did you know that the majority of contracts given out to companies in the National Health Service are ministers, MPs, who are directors in these companies? So who is robbing Peter to pay Paul? It's our politicians. I read this in one of the newspapers, that every MP, every minister in government is a director or an executive of a private company, and
or
then
an
those
advisor,
companies,
special advisor.
then those companies are getting contracts in the National Health Service to milk the National Health Service. Now, I'll give you an example. We spoke about the Ealing Hospital yesterday at the meeting. In Ealing Hospital, you'll find 4 or 5 receptionists and about 75 or 80 people waiting in the queue. And then you might have 30 people who signed in and have gone home because they know they waited 7 hours. And would you believe there was only one doctor on duty? Because the company is milking the National Health Service. I didn't know they were private. The lady herself last night told us that the company who run Ealing Hospital, you know, that's another joke.
I think she was talking about the urgent care centre, wasn't she?
Yeah. If you look at Ealing Hospital, okay, on the map, right? The boundary of Ealing Hospital is, if you pass Ealing Hospital, and there used to be there's a pub on the left.
The viaduct.
Viaduct. That's where the boundary is of Southall. So Ealing Hospital should be called Southall Hospital.
Yeah, it's in Southall, isn't it? It's UB1.
It's actually in Southall. It's in Southall.
Yeah.
It's Southall, okay? But people are ashamed to call it Southall. And
Jan, you wanted to say, oh, sorry, carry on. Yeah.
Go on, Jan, go on.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Joe. I mean, from personal experience, my neighbour, she moved from Southall to Ashford in Middlesex. And her doctor's surgery was the doctor's surgery in Havelock. And when she moved, she told them that her address had changed to this address in Ashford. And her doctor's surgery said to her, well, we no longer can have you on our books because you're not in the encatchment area. We will give you we are going to give you 3 months to find a new GP surgery.
That's how it should be. Yeah.
Those are rules then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
What
That's
my
what
complaint.
I do. So I have to.
But Sufyan, what my complaint is, what my mother went through, okay, and what our family went through, was that the doctor's surgeries have got clearly too many patients. And if the doctors have got too many patients, then there are children in Southall who are not going to be schooled in Southall. Then you've got too many people moving into Southall. That's my argument. Yeah. Since 2010, I've been complaining.
I can give you all.
I've been complaining in meetings. Sufyan, 1 second. I've been complaining in meetings that the infrastructure is clearly not there. There was an old lady in Cherry Avenue. She had to wait 6 hours for an ambulance. Come on, man. What are we talking about here? Doesn't life, we have no value because we're brown or
Exactly, that's
black?
what it
I
is.
personally waited
we have
4.5
value?
Joe, I've waited. I understand from a patient's perspective as well as from a professional perspective. I understand firsthand the negligence
6
of the NHS.
hours. People on the Broadway calling the Metropolitan Police. And do you know what the operator on the 999 said to her or him? Is anybody in danger? Is anybody going to be hurt? And if you say no, they say, well, we don't have the staff. Come on.
I
We
know,
have
Joe.
the funding.
People are going to die
England-
then, aren't they? That's what's going to
Of course
happen.
they are.
Yeah.
Of course they are.
This
I
is
just want
this is
to
the point
quickly
I've-
say, Jam, thank you for doing what you do for your
Yeah.
Of
neighbour
course.
and putting your own hand in your pocket and buying an essential and preserving his dignity. So respect to you for
Thank you.
having humanity. Appreciate
But
that.
I agree. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, it's like the other day. I mean, he's lived in the same house since he was 5 years old, this gentleman, and never been married, been a bachelor all his life, worked all his life. He's never been ill, as far as I've known him. I've known him over 50 years. And the care he gets now is abysmal. I'll give you an instance. He has a link line, and about 4 or 5 weeks ago, he pressed the link line button because he fell and banged his head. I'm the first call for his link line, so I went over there. This is about the 3rd or 4th time it's happened, and he was on the floor. Okay, now I can't lift him up with my bad back. He's quite a big guy for his age, and I was told the ambulance would be about 3 to 4 hours. Yeah. Now this is a guy who he needed to go to the toilet. Well, what could I do? He was laying on the floor. This was before he was having to wear incontinent pads and everything. So I rang the ambulance back and I said, look, you know, he's 92. He's going to die if we leave him on the floor. And all I was told was we're doing our best to get him an ambulance. And no disrespect to anybody, but you know, this guy, he's worked all his life. He's paid national insurance. He's still paying tax and national insurance, or not national insurance now. He's still paying tax now on his pensions.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And there's no regard, like, to. I mean, I just felt sorry for the guy because he was having to go to. I was having to take him. Not to be so crude, I was having to put his private parts in a milk bottle so he could go to the toilet. You know,
shameful that he wasn't prioritized, because you said he hit his head.
Yeah,
he could have had a bleed on the brain,
and he's on blood thinners. And when the ambulance people came, I've got most respect for the NHS and everything. He was spoken to so rudely, it was unbelievable. I was shocked.
They have no respect no more. That's where we're getting
these are by
wrong.
the paramedics.
We've lost the word
The
humanity. Humanity don't exist no more. Everything is weighed up with money, and that's a problem.
And if you're elderly like this man, it's like he doesn't have a voice, he doesn't count. It's scary. We're all going to get old, aren't we?
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
And this is a, you know, an ominous sign as to how we will be treated when we are 92, if we get to that age.
We'll be shoveled to the side. They're going to shovel us.
Worse. The transition.
They will shovel us.
There won't be anyone like Jan, definitely, to help us. I'll tell you that.
You know what's the sad thing is what is the sad thing is the fact that, and I never really experienced it until recently. There is such a thing as ageism now. They weigh up the cost.
Oh, yeah.
To
of course they do.
Is it worth the cost of? I mean, when he went into hospital, he could walk. When he come out of hospital, he can't even stand on his own now, and that he was only in hospital for a week.
Scary, the decline.
Yeah.
How so? I don't understand. How did that happen though?
Because they just kept him in bed all the time.
So his muscles wasted then, Jan?
Yeah.
And they should have been encouraging him if it was feasible to get out of bed and walk around and have some.
He came out of hospital, and the physio from the hospital came twice, and now they've just left him. He's now in the referral system for a home physio appointment, but he's been told could take months. He might not even be alive by the time the physio comes to him.
Very, very sad. I mean, there's a case, I don't know if you heard about it in the news, another elderly guy, and he fell and he couldn't get up and he called for an ambulance and he's waiting hours and hours. He rang back and he said, look, if you don't hurry up, you might as well send a hearse. And he died.
Yeah.
That was in the news
Shameful.
quite recently.
Shameful. Society basically is becoming very unhumane.
Yeah.
And that's a sad part of life. And it's all to do, they weigh everything with that nasty piece of paper called money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The government,
definitely.
the government has plenty of money. Okay.
Listen,
We are just pawns in the pot.
Listen, how many billions did just come out with, during COVID? Usually they say, oh, we can't spend a couple of 100 million on schools or give the nurses. Billions. We're looking at almost £1 trillion was used. 54 billion pounds was last year. I think a government report came out, help for small businesses, the loans, people, obviously businesses needed it.
BBLs, bounce back loans.
Yeah, 54 billion. This is the government's own report, was fraudulent and never going to be recovered. 54 billion. How many hospitals, schools, care homes?
The reason why that is, Sagir, that was given to their friends.
Exactly.
That kind of figure was given to their friends.
Yeah.
If you remember,
is available.
If you remember David Cameron, he himself was supporting a company, that wanted so many millions off the government. He was making private telephone he was having private telephone conversations with members of the government.
Oh he got caught, didn't he?
That's the con.
Abuse of his position.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just another piece of. Remember we discussed the police issue last 2 months ago. All of us.
I remember. Yeah.
The good thing. I mean, I think was it yesterday or the day before, the Met Police has been put under special measures.
Yes.
They're not fit for purpose. They're not fit for purpose. It's very simple.
There's actually a lot of things are coming to light. I mean, slowly but surely they're happening. Yeah.
Truth will always prevail, Sagir. Truth will take time, but it will always prevail. The truth will always come out.
I call it the absolute truth. Like Angela, if you do a bit of physics or chemistry, you know about absolute zero minus 270.
No.
The absolute truth is similar.
Well, we have to carry on with these meetings and exposing our experiences, because the powers that be would like these to be swept under the carpet.
And we're not going to do that, Angela.
Testimony to how ordinary people are suffering. And I think we're going to have to save this for another meeting, but let's look at things like the cost of living rise. I struggle at the moment to do my shopping and do it economically. I bought some gravy granules, which used to be about £1. Now a container is £1.80. I'm putting, at least £5 more a week in my car in petrol. It's just really
just before I shoot, I'm gonna have to head off soon. The next meeting will be held. I just want to put the announcement out there. It will be the last Thursday, so it'll be the 28th of July.
4 weeks time. Exactly.
4 weeks time, basically, on Thursday, the 28th of January. Sorry,
July.
I do apologize.
Can I just say before everybody goes, I have started attending Southall Community Alliance meetings. It's held on a Wednesday at 6 p.m. And this is to do with saving the yak. They've decided to jump on the bandwagon with the yak. So where
were they in February, then, Joe?
Nowhere. That's what
if people are available, please do attend the meeting at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday at Southall Town Hall, and I put them in their place. Yeah. Why aren't we using the premises in the town hall to hold meetings?
Joe, is that every Wednesday?
Yeah, on Wednesday we're holding meetings. That's the meeting on Wednesday at 6 p.m. is to do with saving the yak.
For those of you who don't know, the yak is the Young Adult Centre on Parkview Road.
And is it every Wednesday, Ange?
Every Wednesday.
I don't know. Is it every Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, every Wednesday, Jan.
For the foreseeable future.
And what time is it? 6 p.m. every Wednesday.
And I would request everybody to turn up.
Please
because
turn
I
up.
think it's time that we looked into their eyes when they speak. It's very important.
Yeah, it was seriously.
I'll try to. Yeah, I can't guarantee it, but if you think it's worth us trying to influence through Southall Community Alliance, then I can put a message out on social media as well.
Angela, try to bring the girls, Angela.
Yeah.
Because
I had to bribe them last time though. It's costly.
No.
Joe will buy them an ice cream.
Yeah. We can see through these people.
Yeah. What they're doing now, Joe, me and Joe went last week, and what they're trying to do is use social media now. They want to encourage more youth, the 16 to 24-year-olds to actually attend it. So the council has to rethink about selling it off to be used as 48 flats or whatever. So it's interesting. Do please come, because it's going to be good for just your own sort of self-awareness, and bring the kids as well, because the kids it is about the kids, this particular issue.
Yeah.
And if they start using it seriously, it will make
there
a
was
difference.
a lot of strength of feeling at the 2 consultation meetings we attended. So, it's something that shouldn't just be given away easily. We have enough housing, it's chock-a-block. We also need facilities. As Joe has already said, we need infrastructure.
No more flats in Southall, I say. That's what we should be standing for.
No, seriously. We've been fooled. We need to get vocal. We need to stand up as residents, seriously.
Yeah.
In America, there's a big thing. A lot of things are done by the community. Over there, they've realized senators and politicians, it's a lot worse.
Yeah.
It's all about the dollars there. Yeah. And it's openly admitted there. So people have, become fed up. They've organized, like cash, this, that. The community itself has got together.
Yeah, we have to take a stand.
It's just that, we don't do that. And human behavior is quite simple. Scientists over the years, human psychologists, there's certain things that we sort of believe and do. And these people who are rich and politicians, they know that. And that's how they manipulate us. At the moment, everyone in Southall, it's too much. We can't do anything. But we can, not in just individuals, but as
people power.
People power, exactly like how it was in the 60s, 70s. Any kind of movement starts off with a few individuals, but it gains traction through the spread of the word and bringing people together. Once you've got a certain amount of people with you for that particular cause, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't really matter, then you have clout.
Yeah.
People, everyone listens to you.
But I agree, and that's
what Joe was saying. I think the other issue with this area is not only the amount of flats and new buildings that are going up, it's the amount of illegal HMOs in the area. It's also the amount of illegal beds in sheds in the back garden.
Yep.
All these people have got to have doctors. They've got to have schools for their kids. I don't know if any of you else have, when you're walking around. I mean, I do a lot of walking and around the streets and everything, but it's the amount of single young men that are in this area now. you know.
Of course.
Yeah, and what, they're standing on the street corners waiting for a pickup
Yeah.
to go to work. Yeah.
Yep.
Also, whereas before I used to feel quite safe walking around here at 9, 10 o'clock at night on my own, but it's all single men drinking. It's not a family town anymore.
No.
It's
It's
all
beds
builders
in
that are coming in
sheds.
this area who are renting rooms with their white vans, with their builders' vans, and they are just in this area working and just having like bed sits. I mean, we've got a house down our road. It's a 3-bedroom house that's just been sold. It's been converted into 7 apartments, one house.
That's ridiculous.
See, Jan,
watch the fly tipping take place, Jan.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They won't have enough bins.
No, exactly. And the one of the vans, he parks on the pavement every night, across the pavement, long ways, you know, because there's just no parking down this cul-de-sac.
Crazy.
Jan,
have you seen the parking on Merrick Road? Those big blocks. You want to go? Look, let's meet up one evening, all right?
My friend lives in those blocks. Do you know what, Joe? One of my friends lived in those flats that was the Sunrise Radio. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. She said the other day she wanted a Sainsbury's delivery or something, or Asda delivery. And the Sainsbury's or Asda guy was supposed to be there, say, between 6 and 7 o'clock in the evening. So she's waiting there. He doesn't turn up. Yeah. So she phones the shop and they said, oh, yeah, they tried to deliver, but he couldn't get the van through.
My gosh.
Yeah.
So she said, well, hold on a minute. I was there. Why didn't he ring me? Right. So anyway, the next day, the delivery came back. He rang her and he said, I can't bring the food up to your flat because I can't park. You're going to have to come down to it. But she said, but I paid for delivery.
Yeah, to your front door. Yeah.
So
you want to go there? You want to see the bins there, Jan? The dustbins. I've got pictures of the dustbins. The dustbins are overflowing. The cars are blocking the main road.
I know.
The buses. As the bus goes down Merrick Road and turns.
How did they get planning permission?
Yeah.
That's the question to ask.
Has anybody seen that video on Facebook, Joe? I don't know if you've seen it. Jan, you might have seen it on I think it's Iron Old Face from Southall. And somebody took a video and the flats are sort of like arranged in a quadrangle. And it is just totally oppressive that, you know, if you live in one of them flats, you look out and you've just got no view other than a massive block of flats in front of you. It looks hideous. Yeah.
But what about the houses who got no privacy? They're overlooking houses. It's like me sitting in the garden now. I've got about 12 balconies looking down at me. Where's my privacy?
You have got your clothes on, Joe, haven't you?
Not thinking. Sorry?
Joe,
what's that?
You are wearing clothes or not?
Well, I am now. I have to now. I've got to dress when I sit in the garden.
Okay, because you're in a position, that kind of stuff. I don't want to be reading about you news of the world or something tomorrow.
Yeah, we don't want to be on Southall name of shame.
No, not at all.
I can't walk around with a towel around me no more.
Anyway.
Is that what?
Hey, Jan, can I ask you a question? Jan. Look, I've got a beautiful cat, okay? He's a boy, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, the problem I've got is he fights with my family, so we let him out, okay? We wanted him to be a homely cat. Now, what he does, he goes into the new flat, the development, and every single day he comes back with about 4 rats.
Oh my God.
And we're getting really cheesed off because we bought him to be a lovely homely cat, and he's become the bloody hunter for the Labour Party. All I'm doing is disposing of what he brings home, and I don't want my wife to get ill. What can we do?
Well, that's the problem with a tomcat. That's what they do.
They're hunters.
You should have got a female cat.
Yeah, or Pacific breed, which is just homely. Some cats don't even leave the yard. Yeah, you need to get one of those.
This one is hunting all the rats in Southall.
You should ask the council for a wage.
He should be employed
He does a better job
by
than the
any
council.
council.
Yeah.
Environmental. Environmental tomcat.
Yeah. Can he give out parking tickets as well?
Joe, you'll be a millionaire by Christmas, mate.
He's brought home about 9 so far.
Or just today?
No, he bought 3 today.
All right.
I count them in total. It's 9 at the moment.
Okay.
He's doing well. Gosh. He's doing better than the environmental officers.
You know what it is, Joe? They do that. They're showing you what good boys they are, and he's bringing you a present. I had an instance at Christmas Eve. My cat came in, and I could hear it making such a noise outside the bedroom door. So I opened the bedroom door. He's got a mouse in his mouth.
There you go.
And he let go of it.
Oh,
it's live still.
You know. So I got my pajama bottoms. I grabbed this mouse in my hand with the pajama bottoms, ran downstairs, opened the kitchen door out. I threw my pajamas out with the mouse.
The neighbours must be looking.
Mice.
I know. But I just threw it out in the back garden. But you have to.
Is it still there?
Well, no, the pajamas went missing as well, I think. I think the mouse ran off with the pajamas. So, Joe, if your cat brings any rats back with some blue pajama bottoms, they belong to me.
I'll send it back, return to sender.
Yeah. Can you wash them first, though?
You'll be able to sell them pajamas for quite a lot of money, mate.
Yeah. And can you iron them as well?
Anyway,
guys, I must go.
It's been a lovely meeting.
Let's close the meeting. Yeah, I think everyone. As usual, we're showing the councillors and Mr. Sharma that we are very civil, polite, but we have genuine and serious concerns that we are not going to pull our punches on. So we look forward to the next meeting. So good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Take care.
And next Wednesday, turn up to the Southall Town Hall at 6 on Wednesdays, yeah?
That'd be nice.
Try to.
Okay,
Thank you, Reshpal.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
All right, bye.